Lander, the religious education assistant at the First Unitarian Church of Salt Lake City. Our UU of the week this time is Charles Dickens, the revered author of A Christmas Carol. Charles Dickens has been called the greatest author of the Victorian era. He was born in England in 1821, and he lived in comfort at times as well as great poverty. Dickens had to leave school when he was very young because his parents could not afford the fees. His father was even put in jail because he owed so much money, and so Charles had to go to work in a factory to support his family. When his father later inherited money, he was finally released from prison. As they repaired their financial and social standing, Charles's father pointed to a big fancy house, and he said, "If you work hard enough, you could live in that house someday." And Charles did. He became a journalist and later an author who worked so much and published so many books that he was able to buy that very house that his father pointed at. Charles Dickens never forgot his past, though, and he used his writing to shine a light on inequity, meaning when things aren't equal for people living in the same place. He wrote about characters who were relatable and likable, and then put them in desperate situations to highlight the many hardships of living in Victorian England, like debtors' prisons and poorhouses. Dickens was able to engage readers of every class and help them to learn more about the other people around them. He enticed upper-class readers by writing fondly about comforts in life, and he also made his writing accessible to the poor by publishing stories in short installments, which were much cheaper than a whole book. Writing his stories in a serial format like that also allowed him to listen to feedback about his characters from his readers, because they read him in short pieces, and then he wrote it again and then wrote another chapter. And he even changed some of his characters for the better based on that feedback, which I think is a really interesting way to write, even so long ago. Later in his life, Charles Dickens became a Unitarian. We have learned that the Unitarians in England were fiery dissenters at that time. Dickens did visit Boston with his family in 1842, and he found the Transcendentalists a bit amusing, even poking fun at them in his writing. But eventually he came around to appreciate them before he returned to England. Shortly after his conversion to Unitarianism and his trip to Boston, Dickens wrote A Christmas Carol. The story highlights many themes near and dear to Unitarian hearts, like the value of spreading kindness in this life right now, just for the sake of helping the people around you. Old Scrooge was inspired to build a living legacy of people who would remember his charity and kindness, rather than being forgotten and despised, like the frightful visions the ghosts had shown him. As good as Dickens was at creating likable characters who taught empathy, he was not as good at his real life. He married young and had 10 children, but he grew tired of his wife and replaced her with a younger woman. He doted on his children when they were small, but as adults, Dickens found his children unimpressive. That's his word, not mine. Dickens worked hard and died basically alone in 1870 at the age of 49. Which sort of sounds like he failed to heed his own lessons in A Christmas Carol. But he did leave a legacy of literature which acts as a rule book for influencing social change, which is still invaluable today. Thanks for joining me in learning more about our UU of the Week, Charles Dickens.